To you, Queen, do you have a moment in your life? Well, first, the first question is, do you find yourself possibly being afraid of your potential greatness?
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay.
Definitely.
So is there a point in time where you can go back to that maybe that trauma comes from or that hesitation comes from? Like I told you my
Mhm.
story of third grade, fourth grade playing basketball, being great, but then disappointing people and not really wanting to feel that again.
Mhm.
Do you have a time where you felt like you put in your whole heart or everyone was looking at you and they expected something that you weren't at the time able to provide and you like, ooh, I don't want to feel that again.
So I can't think of like a big thing necessarily that happened like in childhood. I can think of like
Mm,
little things that maybe have happened recently. I can think about like pretty much every time you're stepping on the stage for dance. Especially, you've got the I did competitive dancing like my whole life. So there was always different types of routines, different groups. You had like your larger groups to where I was always less nervous for something like that because I'm one of maybe 12 people on the stage.
mhm,
So I mean, this you want to be flawless, right? No matter what. But in reality, like if you mess up and there's 12 other people on the stage, it's less likely to be caught,
right.
right? By judges, by your teacher, by everybody in the audience than it is in a solo or than it is in a duo or a trio,
Mm,
which is either one person on the stage, two people on the stage, or three people on the stage. I had a competition where I must have let a black cat walk across me like the day before or
everything
something.
went wrong.
When I tell you I've never been so off of my game.
How old were you this time?
I mean, this was high school, so I was
Okay.
probably, I mean, maybe 15, 16.
Mhm,
And I just remember, like, it wasn't just one performance. It was
mhm,
like I went up for my trio, I went up for my solo, and it was almost like an out of body experience
mm,
where I was like, what is happening right now?
mm,
Like, and it was mainly for so my style of dance to this day, I've never been a very technical dancer in terms of like that's always been my weakness, but performance, stage performance, telling the story, that's where I shine.
mhm.
Right? I'm gonna make you cry. My feet
You
may
gonna
my
feel
right, my
this.
feet may be not as pointed as the other girls, but I'm gonna make you cry.
Mm,
But I was always terrified of doing pirouettes or turns, as we call it, because that was my weakness. And the higher you get, the older you get, the more level up you go, the
mm,
more turns you're expected to do, the more flawlessly you're expected to execute, and the harsher you're graded, by the judges and whatnot. And that was just always my weakness. And yeah, I had a couple of performances that I will never forget, especially on like being a solo. So literally everybody in the entire auditorium is
eyes
looking at
on
you.
you. Mm,
And every single turn that I did was a flop. It was to the point where I was like I don't know what was wrong with me. Like to this day, it's a mystery. But I would like do my prep and I would go and it's like my ankle would buckle. And I did not
mm,
do not one turn. I did not complete not one turn. I almost fell on my butt
mm,
like during a turn.
mm,
Actually, I did. I did. I fell on my butt. I fell on my butt. That was the moment. Now that I'm remembering, it was actually very traumatic.
mm,
Um, yeah, having the entire auditorium looking at you, and this was during a trio, Dr. Feelgood.
mm.
I fell on my butt
What
during a
happened after?
turn section.
What happened after that?
I mean, I got up and kept doing the routine, but I just remember leaving the stage and like my stomach was in knots.
Mm,
And my teacher, I don't even think she talked to me.
dang.
I don't know.
Is
I
it
don't.
Christy?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think she talked to me. I don't think she looked at me. She was just like,
Mm,
What is wrong?"
mhm.
And
So
I just
sitting in that moment right there, what did that feel like?
terrible.
Mm,
Especially like the solo was one thing, but it's like, okay, well, I just messed up my solo. Obviously, I'm not gonna place. The trio, I was like, oh, I was already like the least technical of the three of us.
mhm,
Um, but yeah, it was like, okay, well, I've now messed up our chances of placing in this trio.
mhm,
Right, I've made us as a unit look bad, but us look like we were not prepared,
mhm,
even though I was just having a bad day. Like I don't know what it was. It was nerves. I don't know, but I felt like I let my trio down. I felt like I let my mom down, my teacher down, my whole studio down
mhm.
because of my nerves or what, I don't know. But it was just a terrible feeling. That entire weekend was just, and I feel like that probably jinxed me for the rest of my routines.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a moment that I remember just feeling really, and I was excited to have, I was even excited to have that routine because again, it was almost like a level up for me. I was dancing with dancers that maybe I wasn't, at a level that I wasn't used to. And
Mhm.
so it was exciting, like, oh man, I get this trio now. And yeah, it felt like I had this opportunity and just did not deliver.
Mm.
It was very, very
Traumatic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's interesting too because I know you dance a whole bunch of different genres, but I also know today you're very focused on hip hop specifically.
Mhm.
And I wonder if that moment has anything to do with why, and I don't know how many contemporary or
It was a
spin
jazz solo
jazz solos. I don't know how much jazz you did
or
after
jazz
that
trio,
moment.
sorry.
I don't know how much jazz you did after that moment, but I know right now you don't do jazz.
Nah,
You don't do turns. You
nah.
don't do that stuff anymore. And I wonder how much of it is connected to that traumatic moment.
Mhm.
Right. Thank you for supporting the M4 show and our mission to increase the wealth of Black families.
If you received any value from this episode, any value at all,
Any,
any, do us a favor and give us a like and subscribe on YouTube and Apple, Spotify,
all them,
anything, all of them,
all
all
them.
of them. Wherever you're listening, go ahead and like and subscribe.
And after you like and subscribe, make sure you send this episode to at least one family that you really want to see win. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.